I'm Greg Hunter. Welcome to USAWatchdog.com. We're a regular guest. He comes from the Holter-Sinclair collaboration at JSMindset.com. I'm talking about Bill Holter. Bill Holter, thanks for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com.
Thank you, Greg.
You wrote a powerful article recently about this delivery and about all this tonnage that people are going to stand for delivery. Can you explain what's going on? We've heard this story before about how comics may run out, and they always seem to be able to work this deal where they end up paying or delivering gold. How bad is it over at Comex? What's going on with the actual physical gold delivery?
Well, let me go back. Over the last 2 years, there have been points in time where there was lots and lots of gold contracts that were just before first notice date were open, and there were some months where the amount standing was quite high. During the month, that would always drop during the delivery month. And the only thing, the only explanation for that is that the longs were offered cash premiums to walk away and not take delivery. I say that because if you're standing for delivery on first notice day, you have to have funded your account 100% with cash in order to take the delivery. So if you're 100% cash in the account and you went through the trouble of bringing the cash into the account, why would you walk away? You'd only walk away if somebody offered you a 20 or 25% premium or whatever the figure is of premium to walk away and not take delivery. Now, recently, last month in May, which is typically a very small delivery month, there was 5.5 tons that stood for delivery on first notice day, and that was probably the biggest May, at least in the last 10 or 15 years since I've been following it. And that number grew through the month. It grew to 6.8 tons of gold are standing for delivery. So not only did you not get the bleed down, but you had a growth in the amount that was standing for delivery. Another thing that has changed is that in the past, up until this delivery month of June, whenever there were contracts standing and you would see them bleed down, and as I mentioned, I think that was cash premiums being offered. The services, the contracts being served didn't get served until very late in the month, with say 1, 2, 3, or 4 days remaining. Those would be the holdouts that would not accept cash and demanded delivery, so they were finally served. And that doesn't make sense. If you're going to serve gold, you want to serve it on the first day, the second day, the third day. You don't want to hold on to it because you're paying storage costs for the month. So you want to serve it as soon as possible and get it out of your hands. Here we are in the month of June. The first notice day showed 49 tons standing. That's about 1.5 million ounces versus 51 tons that COMEX actually says they have in the registered category. The first or the second day that dropped, the amount standing dropped to 44 or 45 tons, and it's already grown back to 49.5 tons. So there's more standing now than there was on first notice day, and the amount standing right now is higher than any amount standing over the last 15 years. So something has definitely changed, and I can tell you one thing that has changed is who these longs are. These longs want real metal.
And why do you suppose, is it the Brexit? Is it the possibility of Deutsche Bank imploding? Is it the dreadful numbers all the way around in terms of manufacturing and employment and labor participation rate? Why are these people standing for delivery, do you think?
It could be any or all of those. It could be a scramble for gold. My theory for the last couple or 3 years has been that you're seeing Asian interests, China, trying to bleed the gold out from the West, and this would be a final nail in the coffin if that's what it is. But you definitely have a different type of long standing in June than we have had in the past.
And how close? And what does this mean for Comex? I mean, is this going to be the crescendo moment where Comex says force majeure? I mean, you had a long running battle with some people over that Comex can never default,
Right.
and I'm in your corner and Jim's corner that you first time you pay, that's gonna happen one time. And we don't
Right.
have any gold. We're going to pay you some cash, and you better have a lot of cash on hand if you're talking 40 tons. Am I wrong?
It's 50 tons.
Or 50 tons? Yes. I mean, that's only going to happen one time that you can pay with cash. Then you have a market, right?
Well, if you don't deliver the gold and you tell longs that are expecting gold, here, take the cash, you're right, then it's over. It, this is like a one, two, three punch. I mentioned May gold, you got June gold. Now, July, which is historically a very, very small delivery month, uh, there's actually 305,000 ounces that are still open for the July month. Uh, that's huge for July. That's like 9 tons of gold. And then if you go to August, there's 38 million ounces. So you're talking about what, 11 or 12? What would that be? 100 110, 120 tons. I mean, you're talking a big amount. And then you've got July silver mixed in the middle, where they've got 95,000 contracts open, which represents about 475 million ounces. The world only produces 800 million ounces.
That's half the year's mining production, at least.
Yeah, it is. And at the same time, the amount of registered silver is at virtually an all-time low of 22.5 million ounces.
So, what do you think the prognosis is? What do you think all this technical, deliveries and technical charts and jargon? What does it mean to the common person about what's coming? What is it signaling?
Well, as I've said, it was just a matter of time, and what this is saying is it's definitely closer. And if you get some type of uh, outside event over the next 2 or 3 months where there's a scramble into gold and silver, they're not going to be able to deliver. And the troll community says, oh well, they'll just move it from the eligible category. They can't do that. Eligible gold is customer gold. If it just miraculously gets moved from eligible gold into the registered category, that's actually called stealing.
Then we also well listen. That was supposed to happen at MF Global. That we know that people's actual segregated accounts got used by the lovely folks at MF Global when they were putting up collateral and hypothecating all the other stuff. I mean, do you think that scenario could happen again? They'll do anything by hook or crook to stay afloat. They'll pull an MF Global and just steal people's gold.
I would say it's possible. Anything to keep the game going.
Do you, and you think that's close, like in now between the now and the end of the year, or do you think this could happen at any time? When would be the time that we should be looking for this crescendo moment?
Well, what I'm trying to tell you is that the registered inventories are not sufficient to deliver out to the amount of contracts that are open and outstanding. If you go back to March, April, and May, we still don't really have evidence that those contracts were actually settled. Harvey Organ has followed that, and his calculation is there's 66 tons total if you include the June contract versus 51 tons that is registered and available to deliver. So if it's true that the March, April, and May contracts have not been delivered against, that's another 15, 17 tons that didn't get delivered, and there's only a total of 51 tons to deliver on 66. So to answer your question, do I think it's here and now? I can't tell you whether it's here and now, whether it blows up this month, next month, the following month. As I mentioned, if we have an exogenous or outside event that causes a scramble into gold, then COMEX, yeah, they're toast. Can they string this along into the fall, into early next year, or next year? I suppose it's possible, but it looks like the longs are now different longs. They want real metal. They will not accept paper and turn around and go away and not stand for delivery. They're real longs that want real metal.
Is it just because they're just afraid of all these dreadful warnings? With I don't know, all these different people, Bill Gross, Gunloch, Gartman thinks we're on the at the edge of World War III. I know you and Jim aren't real big fans of him, but is it because of all these warnings? What's spooking everybody?
Well, it could be that, or as I mentioned, it very well could be that the long is an Asian long and they just want real metal.
What is worrisome is that you saying that this is that the margins are so thin that this could go out of control. It's not like it was in months past. That this could go out of control in a hurry because the margins are so thin in terms of what they have in actual deliverable gold.
It's not like it was in months past, because in months past you would have a first notice date amount and that amount would shrink all month long. And the amount of gold served would be very, very little at the beginning of the month, and then they would finally serve the notices at the end of the month. Now you have an amount standing at the beginning of the month which grows, so that means there's more and more gold or silver standing for delivery, and the notices served are being served at the beginning of the month. So the shorts understand these are longs that aren't going to go away. Everything has changed, is what I'm saying. The entire smell has changed within the last 2 months.
Where people were happy with arbitraging a paper contract, now they're
Right.
saying, yeah, no, 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 I want my gold. No, bring it out here. No, I'm going to go ahead and take delivery.
Right, that's correct.
And somebody asked me this question. They said, we've heard a lot about their shortage. I've had Rob Kirby on, and I've had other people that work in the big market, the bar market, where they have buy gold by the ton. And everybody tells me that market is tight, but yet I've had people write me and say, well, I go into my local coin store and they say I can get all the ounces I want, all the gold eagles or Krugerrands or whatever I'd like to have. Can you tell me what's going on with these two markets? Why is it one market fairly tight, and you're telling me that it's pretty tight at COMEX and people are standing for delivery, and yet you could walk into any coin store and they say, oh, we got plenty of product. What's going on?
Well, understand that COMEX is not a supplier market to uh, to either the retail or the institutional market. If you look at the LBMA, I can tell you with silver's in backwardation, and we've talked about this before. Backwardation cannot exist unless either metal is tight or the participants in the market are beginning to disbelieve the rule of law. In other words, they'd rather have their metal in hand now rather than rely on a contract, because they don't think the contract will deliver to them at a future date. And Greg, that kind of morphs into negative interest rates, if you will. Uh, Theoretically, negative interest rates should never exist. And I'm saying that because the German Bund, for the first time, and maybe the second time, is actually negative this morning. So Germany actually has 10-year negative rates. That's certainly not going to help the financial or the banking system. It's not going to help Deutsche Bank. Deutsche Bank, by the way, the 75 or 78 trillion dollar derivatives holder, their stock is making new lows this morning. The banking sector in Europe was real weak. Negative interest rates is only going to hurt the banking system. It's not going to help the banking system.
Do you think Lehman Brothers is? I mean, do you think Lehman Brothers? I mentioned that Freudian slip, right? Do you think Deutsche Bank is the next Lehman Brothers? I mean, there's been people like Zero Hedge putting up Deutsche Bank, on a chart, a year and a half chart
Right.
with Lehman Brothers, and it looks eerily the same until the point it just drops off the cliff. Do you think Deutsche Bank is our Lehman candidate for the next calamity?
It would make sense that they're the candidate because, I mean, as you know, uh, they had a recent settlement in the gold and silver fix, and they're turning state's evidence, so they may end up getting thrown under the bus. The only problem is, if they get thrown under the bus, they're going to be a bomb that blows up the whole bus.
And you think we are? Do you think we make it out of this year without a big dislocation, without a big crash?
I don't see how, especially when you add into it the potential unrest all over the world. You have the Brexit potential, which that looks like now the polls are saying that that's going to happen. That's going to absolutely dislocate Europe. You have the U.S. election, and no matter who wins, I would say there's going to be riots on. There'll be riots no matter whether Hillary wins or whether Trump wins. And you'll probably see rioting going into the election. You also had the event, the tragic event down in Orlando, uh, and it's pretty much common knowledge that ISIS has said that they're going to be doing this all summer long. So you've got all kinds of potential dislocations, and to answer your question, no, I don't see how we get to next year with the can being kicked down the road.
If we're going to reach a point like to that woman who says there's plenty of gold and silver right now at the coin level, at the individual level, do you think we will reach a point where they'll just either stop selling or run out of metal? If it's that tight in the bar market and the
Right.
COMEX and the big players, how long does it take for the small markets, the coin market, the individual who wants 50 ounces or 100 ounces or 200 ounces of gold or silver or whatever? How fast does that turn sour until, yeah, we can't sell you gold, we won't sell you gold?
It takes from the time you go to bed at night to the time you wake up in the morning. You get some type of event, and all of a sudden gold goes up 100 or 200 bucks, and silver's up $4 or $5. The shelves will be cleaned out if they stay for sale, but you'll find a lot of small local dealers will just close their doors and say, "I'm not selling."
In other words, they will play the market with their inventory.
Right. Exactly.
And you think that you've said this before, and I think you're right about this. You've said, it's going to start, it's going to be overnight. It's going to be one Sunday night, which would be Monday morning in China. And we haven't even talked about China. China's a mess, is it not? I mean, China's a mess, and you think it'll come from the east and work its way around the world to the west.
I tend to believe that that's what's going to happen. Is that something will happen in Asia, in Europe. It won't start in the U.S., but it'll finish in the U.S.
And all these people warning. I mean, Bill Gross, all these people, all these money men, Gunloch, Gartman, all these Carl Icahn on the phone at
George
CNBC.
Soros.
Yeah, Soros. What are they? I mean, these are all people that end up. You're not on CNBC, and the reason why you're not is because you're not a liar. But you're not on CNBC. But these people are on CNBC saying this on CNBC. It's almost like you tune in at the right moment on CNBC, and you think, you know, am I watching alternative media here? These people are warning of a big calamity, explosion. Bill Gross talking about explosion or supernova. I mean, it is, Carl Icahn. Zero interest rates. This could blow up. This is going to explode. Have it too long. Why do you think all these guys are saying this at the same time?
Because it's gotten so obvious, and I would like to say I'm glad that the quality, the caliber of these names. I mean, Druckenmiller, Sam Zell, go on down the list. These guys are extremely brilliant people. I'm glad they finally came around to it and figured it out.
Or maybe they figured it out all along, and now it's so obvious that they just got to
Right.
say something so they don't look ridiculous when it blows up.
They're getting on the record is what they're doing.
And you think that's signaling that again? This is another signpost that things are close. These guys are lining up on the record to say this is going to blow.
Right. You would not have the caliber of names all lining up at one time, all within, call it 60 to 90 days. They would not all be lining up to get on the record unless it was going to happen pretty soon, in my opinion.
Bill Holter with JS Mindset, the Holter Sinclair collaboration. Bill Holter, thanks for joining us today on USAWatchdog.com.
Thank you, Greg.